Ever had a buyer ghost you after what felt like a great conversation, or had a seller ask you why their home isn't selling when the market seems fine? This is probably why. There are three buckets every buyer moves through before they are ready to make a decision. And most agents are either talking to the wrong bucket or they're not talking to them at all. So today we are going to break down what those buckets are, how to recognize which one you're dealing with, and exactly what to say to your buyers and your sellers when you understand this. Welcome to the Strategy Room from Knoxville Real Estate Professionals. So, buyers do not wake up one day and just decide to buy a house. They have not chosen chaos that day. There is a whole invisible process happening before we even enter the picture, and it starts with tension. Something in their home has stopped working. There are toys everywhere. There is a new baby coming and there's not an extra bedroom. There's an aging parent that's moving in. Maybe there's a divorce, there's a job change, and maybe a relocation happening. Whatever it is, the home that they're in no longer holds their life, but they're not thinking about moving yet. They're trying to fix it. They're looking at new furniture. They're looking at better organization systems. They're converting dining rooms into playing rooms. They're optimizing before they're ready to admit that the house is the problem. This buyer is not on Zillow yet. They are not your client, but they need to become one. So eventually the switch flips and they stop trying to fix the house and they start wondering if the house is the real problem. That's when the late night Zillow sessions start. They're not looking at lenders. They do not want to talk to an agent. There is not a list of homes yet. They're just quietly looking to see what is out there. And something else is also happening at the same time. They start detaching from where they live. They're breaking up with their house. So that neighbor that never bothered them before, suddenly unbearable. The parking situation is frustrating at the minimum. Those little annoyances are stacking on top of the original tension, and now the motivation is starting to build. But this buyer is not ready to be sold to yet. They are ready to be educated. So now we're moving into bucket three where they're making a decision and they've hit a threshold. The tension's too high, the motivation is too loud, they are done waiting. Now they call a lender and now they call you. But here's what most agents are missing about bucket three. This buyer is not shopping for square footage alone. They're shopping for relief. They are wanting their problems solved. They want the tension gone. And they are scanning every listing asking one question: does this house fix what's broken in my life right now? So, knowing these buckets is one thing. How do we use this when we talk to buyers? So, knowing what to do with that information is what separates good agents from great ones. So, if your buyer is in bucket one, don't push, don't pitch, ask questions. What's feeling cramped right now? What would you need to change in your home to make it better? You're not selling, you're listening. And your job here is to be the agent they remember when the switch flips. So market updates and real estate heavy jargon isn't really what they're looking for right now. They're doom scrolling Pinterest and binging home organization shows with a side of DIY on HGTV. So we're planting seeds, we are staying visible, we are not pressuring. If your buyer is in bucket two, you are still in an education phase. Do not sell. They're already curious. Your job is to be the most helpful voice in the room. So offer to connect them with a lender, provide resources on the buying process. You're the expert guide, so act like it. You're removing friction. You're not creating unnecessary urgency. And if your buyer is in bucket three, now this is your activation zone. This is where everybody wants to jump in because there's a lot of decisions happening. But even here, lead with solving their problem in mind. If they have been talking to you before now, use those pain points to help them, because a buyer who feels heard is going to make clearer decisions. And a buyer who feels pushed or, pressured, excuse me, they're going to make rushed decisions, and those decisions usually end in regret. So let's flip it. We've discussed where buyers start making decisions to move and how to market to buyers with this information in mind. But how does this information help a seller? Sellers, I've come to find, tend to think that buyers are shopping logically. They're checking like a grocery list. It's bare bones information, like 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,500 square feet. They think that a buyer walks in, sees the square footage, checks the price, and makes a decision. Now, investors will typically buy like that, but not home buyers. And here's how you can use this knowledge to educate your sellers. You can say something like, the buyer coming through your door isn't shopping for a house. They're shopping for relief. Something in their current home has stopped working and they need yours to fix it. So our job is to make sure that your home is visible, priced right, and positioned so that when this hits the right buyer's inbox, they're ready to make a decision. So that reframe does three things. One, it takes the emotion out of low offers. That buyer is trying to solve a problem. They are not insulting your home. Two, it explains why pricing matters. If you're priced too high, you're invisible to the buyers who need you. And three, it builds patience and urgency at the same time. The right buyer is out there, and it's our job to make sure that they find your home. So, as agents, we spend a lot of time perfecting our transaction workflow, which can be a little robotic because we're tracking contracts and timelines and negotiations. But the agents who build real relationships with buyers and sellers are the ones who understand what's happening emotionally before anyone ever picks up the phone. So, learn those buckets, use them, teach them to your clients. That's the difference between being a transaction and being a trusted advisor. And if this landed for you, share this with your team and subscribe. We drop new trainings every month to support our agents at Knoxville Real Estate Professionals. Looking forward to seeing you soon.